This Bible reading hack has helped transform how I do character studies in the Bible. It's also been indispensable and really useful for helping me write a novel about King David and his life. I like to call this Bible reading hack the first speech rule. So this is what the first speech rule is. Many times in the Bible, a character's first line of speech will inform you about what that character's central struggle in life will be. So for example, King Saul's first line of speech is, "Let's turn back." Now, if you know King Saul's life, then you know how ironic this is, because Saul is one of Israel's first kings, and before Saul is anointed king, Samuel and Yahweh both warn Israel multiple times about the dangers of installing a king over them. So for Saul to say, "Let's turn back," it's almost like he's breaking the fourth wall, turning to you, the reader, and saying, hey, we should probably turn back from this experiment in the kingship. Additionally, there's another layer to this first speech from Saul, because Saul is talking to one of his servants, and him and his servant are trying to find his father's donkeys. Saul then tells his servant, hey, we should probably turn back because our father will cease to become concerned about the donkeys and start to become concerned about us. For the rest of Saul's life, he will be overly concerned with what other people think of him. I find this really also ironic, because here Saul is concerned about his father being concerned about him. In other words, he's thinking about what his father will think of him. And for the rest of Saul's life, he will make some pretty foolish and pretty bad decisions in order to look good in front of other people and in order to please people and not to please God. So this rule works really well for a lot of characters in the Bible. Another really good example is Moses. Moses' first line of speech is whenever he's trying to break up two Israelites who are fighting. He asks one of the Israelites, "Why are you striking your companion?" Now, if you understand the context of this line, then it opens up so many layers to Moses' character. One of these Israelites responds to Moses and questions Moses' authority. And then he even asks Moses, hey, are you going to kill me like you killed that Egyptian earlier? Because in the story before that, Moses killed an Egyptian for abusing an Israelite slave. So there's a few layers to this first line of speech. First, there's Moses interceding. For most of Moses' life, he will be interceding between Israel and God and overseeing Israel and helping give Israel laws so that they can live peacefully with one another and with God. So here Moses is trying to intercede from one Israelite to another, but for most of Moses' life, he'll be interceding between all of Israel and God. And he'll also be helping Israel live in harmony with one another. He'll help them love God and love their neighbor. Now, when the Israelite responds to Moses, it's really fitting that he questions Moses' authority, because when Moses eventually does lead the Israelites in the desert, they will constantly question his authority. There will be a few coups and a few times when Israel wants to stone Moses. And this last line of speech from the Israelite, ironically, is referencing Moses losing his temper. I find that really ironic as well, and very fitting, because right before this, obviously Moses killed an Egyptian out of maybe a little bit of too much indignation. But later on in Moses' story, God will tell Moses, hey, go speak to this rock in order to bring out water for the Israelites who have no water, who are mumbling and complaining. Moses, instead of speaking to the rock, will strike the rock out of anger, probably because he's getting so tired of mediating between these Israelites who are constantly grumbling and rejecting him. So Moses doesn't enter the promised land because he struck the rock. So on multiple layers, this first line of speech in this first dialogue that Moses has with these two Israelites is indicative of the three central struggles that Moses will go through for the rest of his life in leading Israel. Now, I mentioned that this rule helped me to write a novel about King David, so I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about David's first line of speech. David's first line of speech is whenever he asked to fight Goliath. His first words are, "What will be done for the man that kills Goliath?" Now, this is really interesting to me, because I think most people think of David as a man after God's own heart, and most people would probably say that David struck Goliath, or he wanted to fight Goliath to defend God's honor. But the very first words that David says in his whole story is about what he can gain from killing Goliath. It's only in the second sentence that David will clarify his intentions and say, "For who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy or reproach the armies of the living God?" So in David's first line of speech, you see a tension emerging that will be carried out throughout the rest of David's life. Is David seeking after his own glory in fighting Goliath, or is he seeking out God's glory in fighting Goliath? And indeed, very fittingly, for the rest of David's narrative, there will be many times when David really does seek after God's glory and not his own, but there will also be times when he abuses his power, when he lies and murders and tries to cover up his sin. So most of David's life will be characterized by seeking after both God's glory and his glory. So this rule has really taken my Bible study a lot deeper, and it really helped me to write my novel about King David. In fact, I've tried to incorporate this rule in my novel. So anytime any of the characters first show up in my novel, I've tried to use this rule in their life. So whatever central struggle I believe after studying out that character in the Bible, that character's central struggle is, I've tried to reflect that in their first line of speech in my book. I also would encourage you to try this rule out yourself, right? So the next time you do a character study, I would encourage you read through every single time a character shows up in the Bible and ask yourself, what is this character's central struggle, or what are this character's central struggles, plural, because some characters may have one or two, some may have a lot, like Moses. And then after you've done that, I encourage you, go back to that character's first line of speech in the Bible and ask yourself, does this character's first line of speech reflect what I saw in their central struggles in life for the rest of their story? You may find some new things that you overlooked, or you may deepen some of the things that you already saw. So this really helped me out. I hope it helps you out. If you like this video, then I guess the YouTubers are saying to subscribe and like their channel. They always say that. But I hope you liked that. I hope this is encouraging to you. I'd like to come out with more content like this in the future, of lots of little rules and Bible hacks that have helped me study the Bible and understand God's word more. So thanks for listening, guys. I'll see you next time.